Round tail, square tail. Often the trigger for an animated discussion between Cessna tailwheel pilots. When I came across this photo that I took last year during my trip with Whiskey Blue, my Cessna 170, I instantly remembered a nice chat I had with Chris after he had tied down his 185 next to Whiskey Blue. Round tail, square tail, this topic didn't come up. But ever since, this juxtaposition of two tails reminded me that I used them as a metaphor for parallel worlds, alternate lives. Have I talked about parallel worlds and alternate lives before? Don't remember. I know that I talked about alternate places in one life, but that's something different. Hey, I'm Wolf. I'm a retired physicist and a glider and tailwheel pilot. I had just tied down Whiskey Blue in Escalante, Utah, when a group of 4 tail draggers landed. As their pilots unloaded tents and folding chairs and sleeping bags and other camping stuff, I realized that we were on a similar mission, camping under the wing on backcountry trips out west. Of course I wanted to talk to them, but Chris beat me to the introduction. He strolled over, admired Whiskey Blue, and then told me about their group. There were 4 airline pilots who had met someplace about 5 years ago. They had become friends, and then they decided to organize once or twice a year a 1 or 2 week trip to the backcountry with their tail draggers. And they had done it pretty much every year. And now they just had come to Escalante, Utah the same day I had. Then he told me about his passion for aviation, his career at Delta Airlines. He told me about his love for tail draggers and all the trips they had taken and the adventures they had passed. And the longer he kept on, the more I felt drawn into the narrative of a life I admired. I got totally lost in it, and I became the protagonist in a movie about Chris's life. After all, some 60 years ago, I had wanted to become a Lufthansa pilot. So now, Chris was describing an alternate life that I might have well lived. It felt strange. Parallel paths, parallel worlds, one real one and one imagined one. The round tail life and the square tail life. That night, hours after our conversation, vivid scenes of that alternate life movie still flickered across the screen in my mind. And then other scenes emerged. And I remembered I had had this experience of seeing a movie about alternate lives before. It had happened in Meadow Creek, Utah, the first backcountry trip where I camped on. When I landed, I saw 185 tied down in a corner, but nobody was around. I met Ted, its owner, the next day as I walked back from the outhouse. I stopped, said hello, and we started to chat. Ted had bought his 185, the love of his pilot life, as he said, about 30 years ago, and had flown her to Alaska pretty much every summer since. During wintertime, he enjoyed a husky on skis in the area around Salmon, Idaho. Ted also had a long career in aviation, the last part of it with United Airlines. Again, it could have been my life. I saw that. I saw the movie and I read the script in the first person. Weird, isn't it? But then it got even weirder because this alternate life and my real life collided, or they merged for a moment, you might say. Turns out that during his time at United Airlines, Ted had become friends with Phil, another United Airlines captain. And Phil was one of my soaring buddies during the year I worked at the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado. Isn't that strange? I mean, how can you imagine meeting in the backcountry of Montana and sharing this experience? Small, parallel worlds indeed, right? So what do I make of it? Well, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this experience, even though They are real and they happen from time to time. So perhaps I should become more aware of those parallel worlds, of those alternate lives, and listen and watch what they tell me. For example, that flying is my real passion because all these revelations and all these experiences appeared in a flying context, or perhaps that there are some aspects of these alternate life movies that I could incorporate in my real life to make it more complete, like starting to think about a transition from round tail to square tail. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to make of them. But at least since they are real and happen from time to time, I find them worthwhile to ruminate on. And maybe you find that too. Just don't get stuck with them too long, because I want to see you next time. Bye now.